Daniel 11, verse 20. Then shall stand up in his estate a raiser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom. Okay, so who's that? That's the Antichrist. Look down at verse 21, the last half. But he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. Now, I'm doing this because there's so many parenthetical phrases in this that to get them in order, you have to have a lot more Bible behind it to understand the order. I'm going to give you this order, my ordering of it, and then you can make your own mind up. I'm going to tell you, I spent a lot of time reviewing what everybody had to say about this section. And I don't know that I understood anybody's except for mine. So, y'all might look at mine and say you don't understand that either. Make up your own mind, but study it out. Here's what I think. Okay, the rest of the verse, verse 20. But within few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. Still lines up with everything else we know of the Antichrist. In Revelation 13:13, he says, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death. This is the beast. And his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. Okay, so that's, he said, he'll be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. Now, of course, you could apply that historically to a human, but here he's being destroyed, but not in battle. He's got a deadly wound. It's deadly. It's supposed to kill him, but he's come back. So maybe it's Trump. I don't know. Verse 20, verse 21. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom. Okay, I call this Antichrist phase 2. After the deadly wound, he exhibits himself as Satan personified. He embodies probably Judas Iscariot and is what is called in 2 Thessalonians the man of sin. But he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdoms by flatteries. Okay, so that's how he began to begin with, was coming in peaceably. In Revelation 17, you find it. Revelation 17:12. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. So now you see his deception and his flatteries. Is, hey, look, if you'll put me in charge, I've got some good plans. If you put me in charge, I'll give you power as though you were kings. Well, they jump on board with that. Revelation 17. Revelation 17:13. This is just like the devil. He wants an entrance. Once he gets an entrance, then he owns the man. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. Well, he promised them to be kings. It only took him 1 hour to do that. And then, once he's entered them, just like Judas Iscariot was entered by Satan, or Satan entered Judas Iscariot 3 times, and then Judas starts doing the will of the devil. Here these men have given over their power to him because he promised them something. You kind of like in the garden, you'll be as gods. Here, you'll be as kings, and turns around and they want to give it up real quick. They're handing it all back to him. Verse 22, back to Daniel. Daniel 11, verse 22. And with the arms of a flood shall they be overflown from before him, and shall be broken, yea, also the prince of the covenant. Now, this right here becomes a tricky spot. Also the prince of the covenant. Is that 2 separate things or one? I say it's one. You find this a lot of times in the Old Testament, where it'll say 2 things referring to one object, but it's a reiteration of the same. We do the same in English. When we're talking about something, this is what I couldn't stand when I was a kid, when somebody would repeat themselves. This is what the Bible does many times. It repeats itself. It'll change it a little bit and repeat it, so it'll go into your brain. People think differently. And sometimes if you can approach something from a couple of different angles, one of them will stick. Verse 23. And after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully. Okay, the 10 kings agreement of peace. You know, that was his whole thing. He's coming in with flattery and peacefully. Is obviously going to fall apart. The finish of the verse, verse 23. For he shall come up and shall become strong with a small people. So whoever this small people is opposite of what the group liked. We know who that is. It's always been the same. Israel. If you're with Israel, you're against the bulk of civilization. If you're against Israel, you got plenty of friends. Now this covenant thing, he said in verse 22, yea, also the prince of the covenant. 2 words in there that are important, prince and covenant. Okay, Daniel 9, remember this is the same year. Both of these chapters are the same year. So Daniel 9, verse 27. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. That's the prince of the people that shall come. Whatever that is. Okay. He's going to confirm this covenant for 1 week, 7 years. And in the midst of the week, it calls the sacrifice, so forth, so on. He breaks his word. Verse 20, chapter 11, verse 21. Chapter 11, 21. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably. Not really, but he portrays himself as coming in peaceably. He's not coming in by force, and peace is his bait that he's using in order to get them. It's all a deception, verse 22. To become strong with a small people by entering in peacefully into the land, verse 24. This land is nearly always the same. When the Bible refers to a land, it's referring to one land. If it's different in the context, you'll see, but rarely is he worried about any other spot on the globe. One is his land, and that's his phrase for it, is his land. People do that. When you own some property somewhere, people will say, I don't know, maybe it's a southern thing, say, out to the land, as though there was only one spot that everybody knew was land. Verse 23. This league that is signed could be the same thing he's referred to back in 9:27, the covenant. This covenant thing is called several different things. It's not just called a covenant. It's made, it's confirmed, and it's called a league. So it can be several different things. It's said several different ways so you understand it's an agreement. It's an agreement that's on paper. It's not something just a spiritualized friendship thing. This is what the people who want to put the first 3.5 years of the tribulation into Jesus Christ's time period. They don't have a written covenant. They say he's confirming the covenant made to Abraham for the land grant. Okay, where was that written? Abraham didn't sign any covenant. Nobody went out confirming, making, or creating a league with anybody when Jesus was on earth, so that can't be. Somebody's going to, obviously. Verse 23. And after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully. Okay, so here's this league, if that's probably the same as the covenant. For he shall come up and shall become strong with a small people. How does he become strong? He allows them to worship in their temple. He gets everything arranged, and he's being deceitful. They don't know he's being deceitful. They think he's going to be a good guy, but he's not. Verse 27. And both these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief, And they shall speak lies at one table, but it shall not prosper. For yet the end shall be at the time appointed. So the end, every time he's talking about end, he's referring to the end of time, not the end of Daniel's day. And it's a book of prophecy. Prophecy means future. Now, I understand we could say Alexander the Great and, his 4 generals sort of fulfill some of these things. And some of it looks pretty close. However, that's still not the end. In Ezekiel, you find there's a good correlation to this chapter. In Ezekiel, the last king of Israel does almost the same ingredients as what we've just seen. The last king is Zedekiah. He makes a covenant with the king of Babylon, that is Nebuchadnezzar, but then he decides he wants to break it and he goes to Egypt. Remember, he makes a deal with Egypt. Egypt doesn't get him out of trouble. Egypt gets him into more trouble because Nebuchadnezzar is going to go down and take care of business with Egypt too. In Daniel 3, we see Daniel as a great type of the Antichrist. And the bad guy, of course, is Nebuchadnezzar. Now, we can't push it too far because Nebuchadnezzar obeys and gives God praise. The Antichrist won't do that. Never. So these types and figures are only held loosely because it's pointing to something way bigger that nobody has fulfilled until the devil shows up and does it. Look at Daniel 11, verse 24. Daniel 11:24. He shall enter peaceably, even unto the fattest places of the province. And he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey, and spoil, and riches. Yea, he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds, even for a time. Now, there's a whole lot in that verse. He's going to forecast his devices. Now, we know what a forecast is. It's when the news media, or when you turn on the TV and they lie to you about what the weather's going to be. A forecast. Now, that's a prediction. He's predicting, and here the forecast is more than just a prediction. It's a strategy. It's a war strategy, how he's going to win against the king of the south, Nebuchadnezzar in type going after Egypt. His fathers. It says his fathers or his father's fathers, he's going to do something they've never done. Now, the reason the father thing comes up is to point you to his family. Now you can start identifying the Antichrist when he shows up. I won't, because I won't be here to identify him. But those who are around, I'm sure YouTube will still be around. The father's fathers, that's a Jewish phrase all through the Bible. Even Jesus, when he goes to pray, he tells them, say, our Father, which art in heaven. That's not a Gentile thing. We don't say our Father or Father. I never grew up calling my dad Father. And of course, I used my excuse to call no man on earth your father. The Antichrist is identified here by his heritage. He's a Jew. In type, it's the king of Assyria, the north kingdom. So we would call him an Assyrian. And obviously he has fathers who are connected to Israel, so he's a Jewish Syrian is what we say. Dr. Upman's always said that. Here's some other verses to support it. Isaiah 14. Isaiah 14, verse 20. Now, you know what's in Isaiah 14. That's Lucifer becoming Satan. Isaiah 14:20 in this whole chapter. Now, people break this up and they ignore the whole chapter. They only give you 6 verses and say that's the devil. No, it's a whole thought process. All the way through, he's going to tell you how he's going to beat him up. Verse 20. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial. because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people, the seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. Okay, so this is what Lucifer had done in the past. That's a very deep subject I don't have time to go into now. But he destroyed his land. Now, we understand it when it comes to the Antichrist. He's going to be a Jew, so it's literally his land. His people, his father or his father's fathers. So he's from a Jewish heritage, and the land, by virtue of being a Jew, is his, and he destroyed it. Look at Ezekiel 21. Ezekiel 21:25. Two things in this verse that are important. And thou profane, wicked prince of Israel. Remember we saw in Daniel 9:27, the prince. Here's a prince of Israel, whose day is come, and here's the definition of the day. When iniquity shall have an end. When is that? Let's find it, Daniel 9:24. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. There's the end. And so all of this is pointing to an event that has not happened yet, didn't happen anytime during the biblical days, and it will in the future. Now I'm going to stop it there, because once we get to the next verse, we really open up more cans of worms. The next section could be referring back to an event that happened in history, but more than likely, it's a reference to future events. This is what we've seen all the way through the book of Daniel. What we've seen is when history does fulfill it, it doesn't fulfill it to the T. It fulfills it really close, but rarely does it give you all of the details, because God always inserts something in there about the final end and what he's going to do and how his son comes out on top. And when he does that, it points to something way bigger than anything past has done. All right, we'll stop there, and we'll pick up at Daniel 9:25 next week.